I've never posted on here before. Honestly, I always thought these stories were just that, stories. But something happened last year that I still can't explain, and writing it out is the only way I know to cope. Maybe someone will believe me. Maybe someone will recognize what I saw. It started when I moved into my uncle's old farmhouse in rural Pennsylvania. He passed away suddenly, heart attack, they said. I inherited the place, and since I'd just lost my job and had nowhere to go, I decided to live there for a while. It was isolated, surrounded by thick forest, with the nearest neighbor over a mile away. Quiet. Too quiet. The house smelled like dust and old wood. The floorboards creaked like they were complaining about my presence. My uncle's belongings were still there, untouched. His bedroom was locked, which was weird. I assumed the police or the coroner had locked it after he died. But the rest of the house was mine to explore. There was one thing that bothered me from day one. A door in the basement, sealed shut with iron chains and padlocks. I asked the lawyer about it, and he shrugged, saying, "Your uncle was a private man." I figured it led to some old storm cellar or storage room. Still, the way it was locked up, it felt more like something was being kept in rather than kept out. The first few nights were fine. Cold but manageable. I made a habit of sitting on the back porch at dusk, watching the tree line. The sunsets were beautiful out there, but one evening, I saw something move between the trees. Just a flicker of motion, something tall, thin. I told myself it was a deer. The next night, I saw it again. Closer. I started locking the doors and windows, even though the only people around were farmers and old folks. Something about the way it moved made my skin crawl. It didn't walk. It flowed. Then the noises started. Scratching under the floorboards. Whispers in the walls. I'd wake up at 3:12 every night, heart pounding, convinced someone was standing just outside my bedroom door. But when I opened it, nothing. Just the long, dark hallway. On the 7th night, I found my uncle's journal tucked behind a loose panel in the living room wall. It was filled with incoherent scrawls and frantic drawings, symbols, diagrams, things that looked like they belonged in some ancient occult text. But one phrase kept appearing over and over again. "Don't open the cellar." Of course, that made me want to open it even more. I spent a few days trying to forget it, but the longer I stayed, the more wrong the house felt. The air was heavy, like it didn't want me there. Lights flickered, even though I'd replaced every bulb. The mirror in the bathroom showed reflections that didn't match reality, like someone standing behind me when I was alone. One night, I woke up to the sound of metal clattering. I ran downstairs and found the chains on the basement door torn apart. Torn, not cut. Something had come out. I should have left. I know that, but I didn't. I don't know why. It felt like the house was holding me there. That's when I started seeing her. A woman in white, long black hair hiding her face. She never moved, never spoke, just stood in the corners of rooms or at the end of the hall. Once, I saw her standing on the ceiling, upside down, head cocked at an unnatural angle. She was watching me, always watching. I tried to leave, packed my bags, got in the car, but the road never ended. I drove for hours and ended up right back at the house. It didn't make sense. I stopped using the car after that. Then came the dreams. Not normal dreams, memories, I think, but not mine. Flashes of rituals in the basement. Hooded figures chanting in a dead language. Screaming. Always screaming. And blood. So much blood. I think my uncle was part of something. I think whatever he tried to lock away, he failed. One morning, I found claw marks on the walls. Not scratches, deep gouges. Like something was trying to peel the house open from the inside. That night, I finally went down to the basement. The stairs were rotting, slick with mold. The air was foul, thick with rot. At the bottom, the cement floor was stained black. The room was empty, except for a wooden circle carved into the center. Symbols around the edge. Dried blood in the grooves. It felt ancient. And in the far corner, a mirror. It wasn't dusty like the rest of the room. It was clean. Too clean. I stepped in front of it and saw her. The woman. She was inside the mirror, mimicking my movements, then pausing and smiling. Her mouth opened impossibly wide, and then she pointed behind me. I turned. There was nothing there. But when I looked back, the mirror was empty. Just my reflection. For a moment. Then the lights went out. I don't remember how I got back upstairs. I woke up in my bed, clothes damp with basement water. But my door was open. The house was awake. It breathed with me. Every creak was a word. Every shadow was a presence. I couldn't tell if I was dreaming anymore. She visits me nightly now. Not in the mirror, in person. She stands over me while I sleep. I feel her, cold fingers brushing my face. I don't move. I don't breathe. I just pray. I don't know how much longer I can take this. If you find this post, and you live in or near Carbon County, don't go near the old farmhouse on Black Hollow Road. Burn it. Salt the earth. Whatever it takes. Just don't open the cellar. I never believed in curses. Not until I took the night shift at the county museum. It wasn't a fancy place, just a small, underfunded building that displayed local artifacts and the occasional traveling exhibit. I was hired as an overnight guard. Easy work, I thought. Walk the halls, check the cameras, drink coffee, repeat. But after the first week, I realized something was wrong. It started with Exhibit 19, a glass case near the back of the museum, barely labeled. Inside was a crude wooden idol, humanoid, with long arms and a featureless face. The tag just read, "Recovered from Ash Creek Dig Site, 1892. Unknown origin." I didn't like it. Something about it made my stomach twist. It looked like it had been carved in pain. On my fourth night, I was doing my usual rounds when I noticed the idol's head was turned slightly to the left. I thought I was imagining things, but the next night it had turned more. Now it was facing the glass directly, like it was watching the room. I asked the day staff if anyone had touched it. They all swore no one ever went near Exhibit 19. Apparently, even the curator avoided it. The air around the case felt cold. I checked the temperature with my phone. It dropped nearly 15 degrees in that corner. I told myself there was a draft or some old vent. But that didn't explain the humming. Low rhythmic. I only heard it when I stood in front of the case for too long. It felt like it was crawling into my skull. One night, I caught something on the cameras. At 3:03 a.m., Exhibit 19's case fogged up. No reason. The climate controls were fine. Then I saw movement inside the case. The idol shifted. Just a little. But it moved. I froze. Rewound. Played it again. It definitely moved. When I checked it in person, it was leaning forward slightly. Like it was trying to get out. I started skipping that wing during patrols. But it didn't help. I began finding wet footprints in the hallway. Bare, human-sized, leading from the back exhibits toward the front lobby. They vanished at the glass doors, like someone walked through them. I showed my supervisor the footage. He shrugged it off. Humidity condensation, probably just an illusion. He didn't look at the screen while he said it. That night, I woke up at home with dirt under my nails and my bedsheets soaked in water. I hadn't left the house. At least, I didn't think I had. The dreams started soon after. Endless forests. Black trees. A man with no face standing in the center, arms outstretched. He whispered without a mouth. I couldn't understand the words, but they bled into my waking hours. Sometimes I'd catch myself muttering them at work. One night, the idol was gone. I found the case shattered. Glass everywhere. No signs of forced entry. Alarms untouched. No footage on the cameras, just static from midnight until 4 a.m. I should have quit. I tried. But the letter I typed on my computer deleted itself. Twice. When I printed it, the paper came out black. Then I started seeing him. The figure from my dreams. In reflections. In the gaps between exhibits. Once, in the bathroom mirror, standing behind me. When I turned, nothing. But the lights flickered and the walls groaned like something alive. The curator went missing 2 nights later. His car was still in the lot. His office untouched. The only clue? A strip of torn fabric clutched in the idol's wooden hand. I didn't even know it had hands. I stopped going home. I slept in the break room, not because I felt safer, but because I knew I wasn't. I think the idol feeds on attention. Or fear. The more I noticed it, the more it noticed me. Last night, I found words carved into the museum walls, letters etched deep with something sharp. Over and over, "He walks when watched." I don't know what that means, but I haven't slept in 2 days. My ears ring constantly. Sometimes I bleed from the nose without warning. And just now, just minutes ago, I saw the idol again. In the reflection of the dark screen as I typed this. It's standing behind me, closer than before. If anyone reads this, don't go to the Beckett County Museum. And if you do, never look at Exhibit 19. Because if you see him, he sees you. I've always been skeptical of ghost stories. Even after my brother disappeared, I clung to reason. But what happened at Renfield Psychiatric Hospital broke something in me. Something I don't think will ever heal. It began with a phone call. I was working as a freelance documentarian, looking for my next story. A woman named Dr. Adrienne Voigt contacted me, said she'd seen my work and wanted to offer me exclusive access to an abandoned psychiatric facility, one with a deeply disturbing history. She said they were preparing to demolish the site, and she wanted to preserve its legacy on film. I should have known something was off. She wouldn't meet me in person. She only sent coordinates, a key, and a waiver to sign. Renfield was located deep in the woods of upstate New York. No road signs pointed to it. I drove for hours down cracked asphalt and overgrown trails until the trees gave way to something massive, looming, and silent. A blackened brick building with boarded windows and ivy strangling every inch of its face. The air felt wrong, heavy like it was pressing down on my chest. I unlocked the main gate with the key she'd sent and entered through a side door that groaned like it was crying. Inside, the hospital was a tomb. Everything was frozen in time, gurneys, wheelchairs, patient files scattered across the floor. I filmed as I explored, narrating into my mic. The place had been shut down in the 70s after a fire in the West Wing killed 11 patients and a nurse. But there were rumors of experiments, torture, things that didn't make it into the reports. On my third day of filming, I found the East Annex. It wasn't listed on the blueprints. I only noticed it because the camera glitched when I passed a particular hallway. The lights, what little power was left, flickered violently whenever I went near. The hallway was lined with rusted metal doors. I opened one and found a padded room that stank of mildew and something sharper, like copper. Each room had tally marks carved into the padding. Some had words scrawled in blood-red ink, or worse. "They're not gone. I hear her singing. Don't look at the mirror." That last one got to me, because I hadn't seen any mirrors in the building. Not until that night. I was reviewing footage in the main office when I noticed something behind me in a paused frame. Just a flash, a pale figure, standing in the East Annex hall, impossibly tall, head tilted. When I turned, nothing. But later, when I passed by that same spot, I saw a mirror leaning against the wall. It hadn't been there before. Dustless. Untouched. My reflection in it didn't move right. It smiled before I did. I didn't sleep that night. My equipment started malfunctioning. Recordings played backwards. Static whispered names I didn't know. And in every mirror or glass surface, the reflection watched me, moving just a little wrong, as if it were waiting for something. Then I found the sub-basement. It wasn't on any blueprint. I only found it because I heard singing, soft, childlike, echoing through the vents. I followed it until I found a rusted grate, and behind it, a stairwell descending into pitch black. I should have left, but something called me down. The sub-basement was a maze of old therapy rooms, hydrotherapy tubs filled with stagnant water, chains hanging from the ceiling. And in the center, a locked door marked Ward 0. The singing was louder there. I don't know why I opened it. I don't remember how I opened it. The footage from my body cam cuts out entirely from that moment until 4 hours later. But I remember what I saw. It wasn't a ward. It was a chapel. Walls covered in crude symbols. Bones arranged like offerings. And in the center, an altar of rotting wood with something tied to it. A shape. Moving. I ran. For the first time, I was afraid the building wouldn't let me leave. Doors shifted. Hallways repeated. I swear the lights watched me. The exit signs led me in circles. And then the voice began to follow me, soft, whispering, just over my shoulder. "You opened the door. You broke the seal." When I finally made it back to the surface, dawn was bleeding over the trees, but the building looked different. The bricks were darker. The windows clear. Faces watched from them. I drove until my gas ran out. Slept in the car. When I woke up, I checked the footage. Most of it was gone. Corrupted files. Dead pixels. But the audio remained. And I hear the singing every time I press play. Dr. Voigt never responded again. I researched her name. There's no record of any Adrienne Voigt in the hospital's history, or in New York at all. But there was an Adrienne Volguth. A patient. Died in the fire. She was 8 years old. I still see her in mirrors. Singing. Waiting. If you find Renfield, run. Burn your camera. Forget my name. Because the chapel under Ward 0 isn't just a memory. It's a door. And now it's open.